Now we'll be doing a tutorial for how to make a manual therapy social media video. So starting off, you'll be opening up CapCut.com and with access to the Paul Helms 57 space. So you'll click on that. That will open up this space right here. You'll do create new. You want to get the 9:16 Instagram vertical profile for making things like reels as well as other kind of mobile friendly videos. Once you're here, you'll go to the appropriate folder. For right now, we'll be using the social media raw footage folder. Click on that, and then you'll identify the video that we'll be using. So for this example, we'll be doing shoulder pain, pectoralis major, and FST. So that corresponds with the shoulder region in question, the muscle being targeted, pectoralis major, and the modality being used. So FST stands for fascial stretch therapy. So I'm going to click on that. It will load up here. Now the first thing that I want to do is actually adjust this image window right here. So I'm really going to widen it out. Going up here, I'm also going to make sure that I can see where the action is happening. So just by scrolling across here, I can see that I need to move this image around. And so I really want to be focusing on primarily the body region in question. That's going to be Adam's shoulder right here. Secondarily, me in the image. And then third, showing the patient if I can. But stay with that order of shoulder region, me, then patient. And I'm really going to try to expand it as well as I can so I can focus on those areas. So here I'm just kind of adjusting it. There we go. And I might have to adjust this as I start to add the top overlay and bottom overlay, but that's okay. So got it centered right there. And then here, I'm just going to double check this. So it's really easy just to kind of scrolling here. I can do a double check. So for example, right here, I can see that starting the video. All right, I'm kind of cut off right there. It's kind of awkward. I'm just going to move it over. There we go. So that way, as I'm talking at the start of the video, I can be seen. I'm going to double check, make sure that I can still see the shoulder region being used. Yes, that's really good. And perfect right there. All right, so we have the window that we want. It's also centered in terms of top, bottom, as well as side to side. So now we'll start to do our trim. So I like to zoom in with this button here. I'm going to do a zoom right there, so that way I can, one, be a bit more fine-tuned, and basically I want to be having the video start right as I start talking, because we don't want to be spending a lot of time having like setup, even if it's a second or two, because people could lose their attention. So I'm here, going to be like, all right, so I start about right there. So I'm going to do the split right here, and then I'm going to double check it. So there we go, that is perfect. So right at that point, I start talking, I introduce myself, and then I get right into it. So from here, I'm just gonna hit, well, I can even do a right click. We're gonna delete that. Now, so we trim the front end, now let's trim the back end. So I can zoom out, I can move my selector there, we can zoom back in, and then I can even use my scroll pad or mouse to scroll to the side. And then again, I'm going to be finding where things stop. So in a lot of my videos, I'll be doing this thumbs up sign right here. That means I'm done. So trying to find a natural stopping point. Sometimes it's not exact. So for example, like right now I'm moving forward like this. That's a bit awkward. So you can even just kind of go right here. And then once I am putting the arm away and stop talking, that's when you can do it. So let's see how that one works. Let's split right there. Let's just check how natural that is. All right, so right there looks pretty good. So right here, we're gonna delete this right there. So we have the image window that we want. We also have the trim that we want. So the actual video and audio. So a quick note on that, always make sure that when you are doing this, that this is turned on. So I can see the little sound speaker. If I click it, it shuts off. And that's important because if I export this video with this X'd out right here, we have no sound. So always make sure that that is turned on. Always check the audio too when you're when you're initially coming in and looking at the video, because if the audio is messed up and you can't hear me talking, or if it's really, really fuzzy and low quality, that's when you just let me know and say, hey, Paul, the audio on this video is no good, and you can scrap it and move on. All right, so we've done our trim, we've checked for audio quality. Now let's start to put in our text overlay. So we have two areas for text overlay. We have a top and bottom. The bottom is actually going to be pretty easy. So just in this right-hand column over here, go to captions, do auto captions, and just hit generate. And so it's loading those captions right here, and boom. So the cool thing about this is that we can see all of our captions in this column right here. And so basically with this, checking out the captions, the main thing that we want to do is make sure that there's no kind of profanity, no kind of verbiage that the social media or that the social media apps would deem as like harmful content. So anything associated with violence, profanity, anything where you're like, might be a little bit sketchy, that's where we want to go and edit it out in the text at the very least. So I'm just going to go through here, just double check that there's no words that were mistranscribed by the device. So as you can see, you don't need to do a expansive search of this. You're just double checking for anything that looks like it could be suspect and could be flagged by any other social media engines. All right, so we've done that, and also notice just here that we have the video on the bottom, and then up top we have the addition to the caption section here. Now with the captions, what we also want to make sure that we do is put in the right kind of way that it's demonstrated. So for us, we want to really have it kind of pop out, but in not an annoying way. So I prefer to use this one right here. So basically it'll show the text and then it'll highlight the one that's being spoken right here. So let's just see that right there. There we go. So as I'm talking, you're seeing it being highlighted there. Cool beans. All right, so we have that set up. The size of this is okay. We can, let's just go right here to this one. We can make it a little bit bigger, but we don't want to make it too big just because we don't want to really overwhelm the viewer. And then also, I don't want to make it too big because sometimes it gets cut off on the sides just automatically by the social media. And so now we're ready to add our top overlay title. And so for this, I have a little formula that I use. So let's go right here. So the title of the video that you use with the raw tells you how to build this formula out. So again, we have shoulder pain, that's the region, pectoralis major, that's a muscle being targeted, and then fascial stretch therapy, that is the modality. So let's go over here. And so in the document that I'll be sending you, I will have that formula there. So that will explain that, like, all right, so for this one, shoulder pain, pectoralis major, FST, I'll be using a formula that will allow me to very easily make this. So we'll do here, yeah, here we go. So I'm copying and pasting one of these formulae from the document that I'll be sending to you. So I'm going to go to text, add heading. And so I like to do all my editing just over here because it's just a bit simpler. All right, so we have target body region. So for us, it's going to be shoulder pain or just shoulder, instantly targeting with the pectoralis major. And then the modality is going to be fascial stretch therapy. So the whole title is target shoulder pain instantly with pectoralis major fascial stretch therapy. So it's a mouthful. And so while not currently the best kind of snappy social media title with our current phase, this is more about getting Google to recognize certain keywords. So that's why we're doing like shoulder pain, pectoralis major, fasciitis therapy. Those are all really important keywords that we want to focus on. So that's our current goal right now. So if you come up with ideas that are really, really good in terms of making the titles better, but still having those keywords be targeted, do let me know. I'm very open to talking about that. All right, but let's get this set up right here. So looking at that, we gotta resize this a little bit. So let's bring it in like that. We gotta add, looks like we gotta add some, there we go. So by hitting enter, I'm able to bring that down. Let's see if we can do that a little bit more. All right, let's move it over here. We're just gonna, let's center that text right there. We gotta do a little bit more of a job with that. There we go. All right, so again, yep, it's pretty wordy. Let's play with the size right here. Let's get it down. Let me see, really trying to see. Let's do 17 for now. Let's see what we can do with that. So it's that major that keeps getting cut off. So we're just gonna play with that for a moment. Ah, yeah, there we go. That actually works pretty well. All right, so cool beans. So we have this right here. Now we want this to be pretty visible, especially as someone that's scrolling through. So what we're gonna do is that we're gonna be filling in some stuff. So first of all, we're gonna be adding in a black background. So I'm gonna go to fill, black, and boom. And, oh, actually, no, it's right here. There we go. Gotcha. So actually fill, my bad, that refers to the color of the text. So we do want that to be visible. And so from here, it's like, okay, so I have a black background so they can see that pretty well. I want to make sure that I always have a color that contrasts with that. So let's also see if we can get it. There we go. So that more matches with the color that we have on the website. So using this pre-fill, so going here, going and hitting that hex code right there. All right, so we have a video now. Oh, and then last thing, let's make sure that that title is going all the way across the video, because otherwise you'll be here, and then that title will vanish, and we want that title to be around. So I'm just gonna pull this all the way across to the end of the video, boom. So that way that plays. Now, let's just double check a few things right here. Let's make sure that, again, body region in question is visible. Me working on it is visible. And so that way the viewer can see what's being done, as well as the title, and then also the captions right there as well. So there you have it. That's the quick tutorial on how to make the manual therapy videos for social media. This is going to probably evolve over time, but this is how we'll be doing it in this initial phase.